Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Heart of Witchcraft. My name is Sassafras, and last time we took a deep dive into the world of zodiacal astrology, and we unraveled some distinctions between sidereal and tropical systems, and shined some light on some inherent problems and the arbitrary decisions present within them, whether it's the precession of the equinoxes pulling constellations out of sync with the seasons, or the neat but often astronomically inaccurate 12-fold division of the sky. A lot of folks, when they talk about astrology, say, we're talking about spiritual energies and we're talking about another plane, and so don't worry about what you're actually physically observing. That's not important. What's really important is the cool math that I did. And I would say to these folks who often have a particular relationship with their systems, the way that they've calculated it, that you have some inherent biases that need challenging. And I really do think that any magical system needs to be bound by your senses, the way that you can sense things, meaning see in some cases, and as far as the stars go, we can see those. This is why I throw out the outer planets for astrology, because Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto were never visible to the naked eye. We only knew about them once we developed. We can't call it an ancient system. Now, don't get me wrong, the planets are present out there, but there's a hell of a lot more present out there that we, for whatever reason, have decided not to count in that particular case. And it's like, well, if, our great ancestors couldn't look up in the sky and see a thing, can we really say that it has, like, a foothold in the human experience in the ancient times? And I kind of don't think we can. So that's why I throw those out. That's why I reject a mathematical division of the sky. It has to correlate to what we can actually see. Because otherwise, you could do astrology without ever looking at the night sky. And that just seems really inappropriate. Inappropriate. That's the right word. Regardless. I don't want to just complain about problems this time. I want to try and explore some solutions, or at least offer an alternative, perhaps, to view the cosmos and the influences therein. I'm going to talk about a system which is a more granular, perhaps more directly observable, perhaps, connection to the celestial influences. That would be the mansions of the moon. This is not about replacing your astrological framework, but rather it's about enriching it. That's the right word. That's the word to use. Offering a different, also ancient, powerful tool for divination, magical timing, future forecasting. So, what are the mansions of the moon? Well, they're a division of the moon's daily journey across the sky throughout a 27 or 28 day period. And it kind of depends on from which ancient system you're deriving it. As to whether it's 27 or 28. The Arabic or Western understanding is 28 mansions of the moon, and the Vedic is 27. We only really see it being adopted in the Vedic system in the 700s and 800s. As I told you in the previous episode, the ancient Indians learned it from the Greeks, and this is no different. Or rather, they learned it from the Iranians, who had their own. It worked its way east. And we only really start to see it at 700 or 800. And so that's not necessarily... Don't worry about the history here. And I'm sure, or rather do worry about the history, go double check it and tell me how very wrong I am. I don't mind. I really don't. I understand I'm not going into detail enough, and I'm not trying to start a historical battle, so to speak. I don't have enough spearmen. That's a bad joke. Okay, moving on. So, think of the moon as being a traveler, and it completes a full circuit of the sky in just under a month, what we have as a month. Now, keep in mind, there are other non-Western calendars that actually do kind of go off of a 28-day cycle. There are lunar calendars out there, which are interesting and fascinating in their own way, and have their own problems. I'm trying to, look, there are problems with everything. There is no perfect system. Something can be mathematically perfect but not make sense. Something can be perfectly sensible and accurate when looking at the night sky, but the math is so goofy that it's kind of like having a clock that is accurate if you constantly adjust it. That's not an accurate clock. But remember, even a broken clock is correct twice a day. So yeah, we've got the moon, and it's going on a trip in a rocket ship, and each mansion is somewhere it stops for a day, or it's a destination, and it goes there, and a specific influence which shifts with the moon's presence. And it's not an abstract mathematical division. This is an observable fixed star or small constellation, small grouping of stars that is often given kind of, well, in some cases anthropomorphized, but, made into, it's not just stars, it's not just balls of gas burning billions of miles away, although it is. It's also a thing, like constellations. So anyway, the cool thing about lunar mansions is that it is a global phenomenon. It is not, located in just one spot. It is across, other people notice this all over the place, and that knowledge spread as well, and, you have cross-pollination, which is the best. And it crossed vast geographical distances, pointing to the intuitive and observational basis of the system. So, we find fully developed systems of lunar mansions in at least 3 different distinct traditions. We've got the Vedic astrology, known as the nakshatras. These are perhaps they're one of the more extensively developed systems going back thousands of years. Well, yeah, I suppose that it's thousands of years now. The 27 nakshatras form the background of a lot of Vedic astrology, especially for understanding timing, compatibility, and planetary periods. Each nakshatra. I'm not really skilled at these pronunciations. I wonder if you can tell. I hope they can't tell. The nakshatras, each of them has a ruling deity, a symbol, and a very specific set of characteristics, much as, we have fire signs and earth signs. It's the same sort of thing. Also, they have, deities ascribed to them. And these are used for calculating auspicious times, for rituals, for marriages, and even battles. The Arabic, or the Persian astrology, has them known as Manazil al-Qamar, meaning the stations of the moon. Don't worry, I wrote these out phonetically, and I'm butchering them phonetically. In any case, it doesn't matter. You don't have to pronounce these things correctly to think that they're valuable. The Arabic system generally uses 28 mansions, and it inherits a lot of it from Babylonian, Hellenistic, and other regional influences. It's heavily developed and applied to magical and divinatory practices in the medieval period and the Renaissance period. Grimoires, magical texts frequently list specific talismans, rituals, and magical operations associated with the moon's presence in each mansion. This is where we often see their more direct application in ritual magic, at least in the Western mystery tradition. Western traditional lodge magic thing. Exactly. Technical terms only on this podcast. And then we have the Chinese astrology. Their system of Xiao, or lunar lodges, are comprised of 28 mansions, each representing a segment of the sky through which the moon travels daily. These were crucial for their calendrical systems, their divination, and indeed their military strategy as well. While structured differently than the Indian and Arabic systems in terms of their astrological interpretation, the underlying astronomical observation of the moon's daily transit through fixed stellar groups is the same. So what does this tell us? Well, it suggests that before complex mathematical models or philosophical overlays, humanity was looking up. They were observing the moon's swift passage along the backdrop of the fixed stars, and were discerning patterns, energies, and influences specific to those celestial neighborhoods. This occurred everywhere that this system was developed. It's a testament to raw empirical observation being the foundation for powerful astrological and magical systems. And it's not arbitrary in that sense, and that's why I think it's a strength. It's not a decision that we made. It's, well, where is it, and what do you see? Write it down. It's like making measurements. And so, strangely, there's the math part for you. Anyway, so how do you use this? We use these ancient tools to predict energies and to do divination. The lunar mansions offer unique applications which can complement or even provide an alternative to traditional zodiacal analysis. First, for predicting daily energies and understanding short-term trends, the mansions are fairly insightful. The moon changes mansion roughly every 24 to 25 hours, and each mansion is associated with a specific flavor or set of influences. To use them, you would need to know the lunar mansion that the moon is currently transiting. there are many online astrological calculators or dedicated apps that can tell you the moon's current position and which mansion it's in. Often you can find it depends on, kind of the flavor of the app. Sometimes it'll list both the nakshatra and the Western mansion. Once you have that, you can then consult resources that describe the traditional significations of that particular mansion. So, for example, if the moon is in the first mansion, which is associated with Aries and stars like Sheraton. Never mind, I'm not going to get into it. My pronunciations are going to be garbage, and that's just the way of the world. I had a really interesting teacher at the planetarium. There was a planetarium at the high school we attended, and they would do regular shows, and they had interesting pronunciations for things. I mean, often they do have interesting pronunciations, so I guess I'll just let that go. Anyway, so you've got the first mansion in Aries. The energy might be about new beginnings, quick action, courage, and even being impetuous. It could be an auspicious day for initiating projects, starting journeys, or taking bold steps. You see the application of the energies of Aries kind of across the board. There's some slight differences and variations, and this is kind of where it's like one of the comparisons that I've often heard between the tropical system and the sidereal is like, oh, you're a tropical Libra, but you're a, Vedic Virgo. But that's not a problem because the Vedic Virgo is actually a heck of a lot like the tropical Libra. And it's kind of like, well, wait a minute. So, and that starts the whole argument all over again. Regardless, second example. If the moon is in the 14th mansion, Al-Samak in Arabic or Chitra in Vedic, associated with Virgo/Libra and stars like Spica, the energy might be about balance, judgment, fine arts, or seeking justice, but it could also be associated with separation or difficulty, depending on the tradition. You approach actions requiring precision, artistic creation, or legal matters with that energy in mind. The key to understand the traditional keywords, planetary rulers, and associated myths that are present for each mansion, and this allows you to interpret the prevailing cosmic mood or the current, and allowing you to align your activities for their optimal results, or to understand why certain energies might be strong on a given day. It's kind of a way to get a vibe of the day, a little deeper than just knowing what zodiac sign the moon is in, which is not irrelevant either. Secondly, for divination and forecast, the mansions can offer some insight, especially for questions related to timing or emotional states. So, a timing question. If you're asking, when's the best time to do X, or when will Y start? Observing the moon's current or upcoming mansion could offer some precise windows. For instance, if you have a question about reconciliation, you might look for the moon to enter a mansion traditionally associated with harmony or bringing things together. You can use it in a horary style of divination, a more formal divination. You're asking a question at a specific moment, as one does in horary astrology. The moon's mansion can, at that exact time, provide a core significator for the emotional tone or the underlying current of the situation. Is the mansion that the moon is in associated with gain, with loss, with swiftness, with delay? So there's another layer of meaning to your reading. It's also complementary. You can layer this on top of everything, and that's kind of one of the strengths. That's one of the things I like about it. It's not exclusionary. Like, you can't... There's no point in which you could choose to ignore this and say it's not important. That's perfectly fine. You don't need tons of layers of complexity on things. I usually say, in regards to stuff, that if you just keep layering more and more and more, that you're being cute. Like, don't be cute. You don't need to be cute. Like, just keep it simple. But here I am telling you to add another layer. So, in time, we are all hypocrites, are we not? In any case, time makes hypocrites of us all. That's the statement. Oh, God. All right. Anyway, so you can pull a tarot card for a daily reading, and if you know the lunar mansion for that day, it can add an extra layer of nuance to the card's meaning. If the card's about conflict, and the moon is in a mansion known for creating discord, well, that kind of confirms the reading and deepens the reading. If the card, similarly, is about conflict, but the moon is in a mansion that signifies the making of peace, kind of a swords to plowshares, like it's time to kind of bury the axe type thing, well, then maybe you can make a positive result out of that, or realize it's time to end the conflict. Or if your efforts are trying to seek after peace, maybe no, you're going to meet bitter opposition there because that somebody doesn't want to make peace today. Today's a bad day for it. And then, beyond daily forecasting, knowing the lunar mansion that was present at your birth, your moon's natal mansion, it's pretty significant. In Vedic astrology, the nakshatra is often considered more important than even your sun sign for understanding your deep emotional nature, your subconscious patterns, and your spiritual path. It's a key to understanding your inner world. This level of precision, tied to observable stellar backdrops, allows for highly targeted magical and divinatory work, assigning or aligning your efforts with the specific celestial current of the moment. It's like knowing exactly which current you should be swimming in, rather than just knowing what the tide looks like for the day. So, remembering our previous discussion and the problems of the zodiacs and so on, the mansions of the moon, along with a broader category of the fixed stars, which are effectively what the mansions of the moon are, it's the stars that the moon is transiting at the time for the day, along with that, offers a fascinating way to kind of check your work, I think, or to gain alternate insight into your own birth chart. If your tropical or sidereal chart feels off, or if you're looking for deeper layers of meaning, look at which fixed stars or lunar mansions are conjunct to your natal planets, the angles, or even the moon's position at your birth. These specific, often intensely powerful stellar influences can add a whole new dimension to your understanding. A natal planet sitting exactly on a prominent fixed star, like Regulus or Algol, will have a very different flavor than if it's simply in the middle of a zodiac sign without such a conjunction. I do think of it as like reading tarot. Some people read the cards upright only. Some people incorporate reversals, and that adds a layer of nuance. Sometimes it's a challenging or meaningful one. Neither is inherently more correct or more powerful. The inclusion of reversals provides an entirely different and sometimes more complex interpretive framework. Similarly, incorporating the lunar mansions and fixed stars into your astrological practice isn't about invalidating the zodiac. It's about gaining that extra layer of insight, that deeper resonance about the tangible celestial reality. In a world saturated with simplified horoscopes, venturing into the mansions of the moon and the fixed stars is a step toward a richer, more historically informed, and often more precise engagement with the cosmic forces that shape our lives. They invite us to look up, observe, and engage with the sky, not just as an abstract diagram, but instead as a living and breathing map of energies. So, that's all for this episode of The Heart of Witchcraft. Thank you so much for listening. If you have questions, comments, or topics you'd like us to explore, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at heartofwitchcraft@gmail.com. For those of you wondering about ads or sponsorships, rest assured this podcast will remain blissfully free of all of that. I'm just not interested in it. I'm not interested in monetizing this podcast at all. I love hearing from you. Until next time, please keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep practicing.